What's the topic today then, Beanicus?
Assuming you're happy with it, I was thinking, can AI replace teachers?
Okay, yeah. No, not yeah, they can.
Yes, they can. Done. Recording over. Thank you very much.
I feel like this is gonna out how much I use ChatGTP in work though.
Okay, so welcome back to Intellectual Potluck. I am Sam, and I am joined today from the UK by my lovely sister Mel. So we're asking, can AI ever replace teachers? And Mel's a teacher, so I thought this might be entertaining for us. As we all know, AI has been around for a really, really long time, but in the last few years, I feel like it's really taken on a life of its own, and it's become this huge thing that a lot of people are using. But it's also become a big barrier, and I feel like it's like an extra big barrier in teaching. But yeah, I thought could be really interesting to talk about AI, the implications of it. I don't really think AI could ever replace teachers. I think it could become a massive part of teaching and potentially like reshape how the job works. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll probably change my mind a few times during this. Yeah, we like as teachers we use AI, but we also have to be aware of students using AI and people using AI things like job applications and stuff like that. It's just a whole minefield, to be honest.
yeah, yeah, I know that I've been helping Grant do cover letters, and I did get the framework for the cover letter using AI, and then just built up around it. I
Yeah.
don't like using it for actual writing because I think it sounds like AI, but I've definitely seen a lot of AI emails from people as well. Sometimes where they've even left in the end prompt where it's like, "Would you like more information?"
Or sincerely, your name.
Yeah, definitely seen quite a lot of that. But I think there's a lot of good that AI could do for education. I mean, as a
Definitely,
whole.
yeah. I mean, in terms of workload, it's amazing for workload. So if I was planning a lesson, for example, I could put in please, not please, because if you apparently you say please and thank you to AI, that costs the AI companies billions.
I read that too, and I was like, "You know what? They're making enough. I'm gonna keep saying please and thank you."
What James says, my husband, is that he needs to say please and thank you to the robots because if they take over the world, then they'll remember that.
Smart. He's a smart man.
But yeah, if I put in, say, structure for a year 10 lesson on photosynthesis with questions and learning outcomes, it could give me that. It wouldn't give me the PowerPoint or whatever I was using to go with that, but it would give me like slide one, slide two, slide. As long as I was specific with my prompt, it's really good. Especially, I mean, because I've got ADHD and it really helps to organize sometimes. I know what I want to put in, I know what I want to say, but I can't quite organize it in my brain, and it just saves that little bit of executive functioning for actually writing the content,
Yeah,
and
it
actually
makes it come out
teaching
in
it
a
as well.
structure.
Yeah, because lesson planning is, as an early teacher, one of the most consuming part, like time consuming parts of the job. You get better at it as you get more experience, and there's lots of resources out there. But I know that James is doing a teach training at the moment, and lesson planning is immense. And I forgot what it was like because I did my teach training 11 years ago. If AI had been around when I was doing my teach training, I would have used so much more. And I'm encouraging James to use it too. And once he started using it, he was like, oh my gosh, this is so helpful.
Yeah, I think it's about using it in the right ways. Like, I get really cross when people just use it flat out to do their job for them because
Mhm.
you can tell. And like, I've never confronted anyone about sending me an email that was clearly written by ChatGPT, but you can tell 100%, especially if their email suddenly got emojis in it. I'm like, I'm sorry, where did you get that font? Like, it's not existing in your current font list. So I can tell very easily, but I think sometimes that's like the space I'm in as well. Like, I'm used to looking at it because I work with social media, and so many social media captions are written by AI
Yeah.
and they
I
all look
mean,
the same.
one thing I can do with it is, well, the job's so busy, but I'm a Senko as well, so I send lots of emails, and sometimes I'm writing an email and it's not quite getting across what I want to say in the way that I want it to say it.
Mm.
So I might put the email into an AI with names and things out of it because you don't want names and things in there, and just say, "Can you make this basically sound nicer?" Or
No, I've definitely done a prompt like that where it's been like, "Can you make me sound less frustrated in this
or more
email?"
concise. Yeah, more concise is a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Or can you give me some actions that I can ask for from this email? Because
Yes.
sometimes if you're a bit frustrated, you can write something and then be like, I've not actually asked them to do anything. I've just basically ranted in an email, and that's not helpful for anyone.
I also really love like AI summaries. Like if someone sent you a really long email, like I work with a lot of therapists, and so a lot of the time there's some technical jargon that I don't know. But I don't necessarily want to clog up their time by going back to them and saying, "Can you explain all of these technical jargons?"
Yeah.
And so I'll just go into AI and be like, "Can you summarize this without any therapist jargon?" And it's like, "Here you go." And
Yeah.
it
No,
it's
it's
really
really
helpful for stuff like that.
it is really helpful. And things like I'm pretty good at writing smart targets. So it's God, specific, measurable, achievable. I should know. I know it when I write them, and time. So time
Realistic?
them. Realistic, yes. I do write them all the time for like education, healthcare plans, and things like that.
No, but you've done them
So
so much that you're probably not thinking about what the acronym specifically is. You're just like, "This is a smart target."
yeah, but I can imagine if you're a new Senko or a teacher who's less experienced writing smart targets, AI could be really useful for that. So and so to get better at spelling is not a smart target, but for
Mm.
them to learn their common exception words and use them in 3 pieces of writing by the end of this half term is a smart target.
Yeah, it's an actual tangible thing, not just a big, broad, sweeping statement. And even in like adult learning as well, I know that things like Duolingo and similar apps like that, they've started using AI to try and like tailor your learning. So like they'll see where you're struggling and where you're failing the most and like tailor lessons to what suits you. And I
Hmm.
think that's a really cool way of using AI as well.
It is, yeah. It's a really responsive way of using it. I mean, I will admit that the whole technology behind AI and everything is just absolutely blows my mind, though, and it is a little bit daunting. I think it's daunting for people like of our generation. So I think that if you're less familiar with technology, for example, it could be really daunting.
Yeah, and it's sprung so quickly as well. Like, yes, it's been a thing for a long time, but the last few years, it's really kind of taken that next step up and has become almost like intuitive. Whereas before, it was just, I don't know, if you asked A, it could only give you answer B. Whereas now, if you ask A, it can run through options B, C, D, or E and rank them in terms of likelihood. You know, it's,
Yeah, it's more intelligent. And as someone who reads like a lot of dystopia, and there's quite a bit and science fiction, and there's quite a bit of AI in some of them, I do think, oh, like I don't think the machines are going to take over or anything like that. Like it would be a lot more subtle.
mm,
And I think the topic of this podcast is really good to think about that. Can it replace teachers? And it goes for any job, really. I mean,
yeah.
there's AI therapists.
Yes, someone at my work's actually been looking into that for like supporting remote communities where they might not be able to get a physical therapist, like whether AI can bridge that gap. Is a really interesting, I guess, opportunity there, but I don't think it'll ever replace the actual person because like people come with those soft skills and I don't think AI can ever learn that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that AI can be self-aware either. So I have tested this. So someone sent me something that I was like 99% sure was AI. So I ran it through AI to say, was this AI generated? And it basically was probably like, I don't know. Why would you think that? And I said, well, because of this, 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 and this. And it was like, yeah, probably. I was like, but I just fed you the answer. Like that
Yeah.
wasn't the AI coming up with that itself. I fed it the answer based on what I thought. So I could see it wasn't being self-aware, which is a
But
good
AI
sign.
detectors are AI.
Yeah. It's a bit of a vicious circle, but I think as long as people are smart about it and I guess don't lose the human side of it, there's so many benefits. Like even just in terms of like taking away some administrative load and like grading load from teachers potentially. Like if everything was done on a computer and AI could just mark it and teachers don't have to do that, that would be really cool.
Yeah, and they've started doing that for like, but I think some platforms have started using that, like some online universities. I think universities tend to use it a bit more.
Yeah. It's more like I guess even while we were at uni, it's like turn it in. You can
Yeah,
it detects if it's plagiarism.
yeah, and they can detect if it's AI, like
Yeah.
likelihood of AI. And sometimes that's not perfect because for some things, like definitions, they're very commonly used. Like how you'd write a definition of I'll use photosynthesis again, of what photosynthesis is probably the same as how lots of other people write it. It's probably very similar to how AI would write it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm even thinking like mitochondria, everyone just goes, it's the powerhouse of the cell. I'm sure AI says the same thing. It doesn't
My
mean that anyone's
students
changed.
say that, and I'm like, "You can't just put that in an exam."
But
I'm
that's
like, "Get
what
the mark."
everyone's told. I don't actually know what mitochondria is anymore. I used to, I'm sure, but I've forgotten. But I still know it's the powerhouse of the cell.
Do you want to know?
Sure.
It's where most of respiration takes place, which is the release of energy from glucose from food.
Okay, that makes sense. Calling it the powerhouse might be a stretch.
Yeah, well, the mitochondria is the only organelle in the cell with its own DNA as well, and it only comes from the mum.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, then I go back to it. If it comes entirely from the woman, then yes, they're the powerhouse of the cell.
So I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why all the DNA for the mitochondria comes from the mum, but it's purely maternal DNA.
Humans are weird.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably not just for humans, that's probably for everything.
Mhm.
Okay, so everything's weird. The world's weird.
Well, how mitochondria came into existence is weird. Well, the theory is that a bacteria protozoa had it, and it merged with an early eukaryotic cell, so early cell with a nucleus, and then they, or vice versa. I can't remember, but basically, some very early on, two things merged and became like the blocks of animal life or plant life, basically.
That's so cool.
It is like I said, I read a lot of like science fiction and dystopia though, where things go wrong, but it
Yeah.
is cool. But yeah, I think that to get assessment done using AI, you'd have to feed the AI the information you want in the assessment, and that can take away some of the, like with science, the facts are the facts, but you're still trying to find out something new and then critically analyze it.
Yeah.
What you would lose if you're assessing with AI is the quality of that critical analysis. And if you're trying to discover something new or work on something that's novel, that's not going to be in AI. All they could do is compare it to things like that it already exist.
Yeah, and I think there's a risk if there's an over reliance on AI, then it's going to completely stifle creativity and innovation. And I guess that potential for development, because if people's brains are no longer trained to think that way, then we're going to completely stagnate as a society. Yeah, I think that's one of the big risks with if people are overusing AI for sure.
Yeah.
You need that innovative thinking, and someone needs to have the idea first.
Yeah.
And how many things end up getting disproven when new evidence comes in, particularly in science? Science is always evolving. But I think the risk with AI is that the old information is still out there in the universe. So, how is it going to be able to differentiate between the old stuff that's been disproven and newer, better research?
Well, that's the thing. You think that like all disproven research will be flagged as disproven research, but it isn't because on the internet you're always going to find somebody that agrees with you, even if you're like wrong. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of an echo chamber, and this is what I try and we do a lot about internet safety and things like that at school. And what I talked to my students about last time we did a session on it, I said the danger is if you think something that is a bit controversial, a bit problematic, and you want to explore it more, and you need to be critical with it because you will find people that agree with both sides and are very, very specific on their agreement. And they're very persuasive.
Yeah.
The one we used the example of was the incel movement.
Yeah.
And I say
Very
you'll find
typical.
people who are very persuasive on one side or the other, and you have to engage your critical faculties with that.
Yeah. And I know this is very hypocritical of me, but I think that's a danger with, I guess, the easy availability of podcasts as well. It's given everyone a voice who wants one, which is great on the one hand, but sometimes it can really perpetuate and give weight to ideas that aren't necessarily true. And I know
Mm.
that for the incel movement, it's been a huge way of spreading their thoughts and their ideologies. And as soon as you end up in like one channel of the internet as well, the algorithms become cultivated to that. So you're not only thinking those things, but everything you're seeing reinforces that. You're not seeing anything that disagrees with you.
Yeah, this is a conversation that I try to have with my students quite a bit, and they do get it. I think this generation we get a lot fewer students coming and going. Basically, I saw this online, so it must be true, which is
Yeah.
good. It
Yeah, they're
is good.
understanding that it might not be true.
I hope that as teachers we can have those conversations with them as well. Like, I will talk to my students about nearly anything. If they have questions about it, I'm not going to go, no, we can't talk about that. That's not part of the lesson. I will give them a space and time to talk about that because they have questions and sometimes they don't know where to go for answers to these questions. And I'm not saying that my view is right, but we can explore it and talk about it in a safe space.
It's potentially a safer space than them just going and looking it up online and finding 10 conflicting views and either ending up more confused than they started with or landing on the wrong one.
Yeah. We're quite lucky though that we don't have so much students using AI though.
Do you not?
No.
Oh,
We
that's good.
we offer a limited number of GCSEs because of the nature of the school and all coursework, etc., is done in-house. So the availability to use AI for that is like nothing.
Fair. It's probably blocked.
It's not blocked because the teachers can get onto it, but
Yeah, fair.
it's a lot of them don't even think to use it. But when James was working at the university, he would be reading some assignments and he'd be like, this is much more concisely and not be horrible, better than the last assignment they submitted, which they had some difficulties with grammar or getting their point across and things like that. This one
Everyone
is
has
like
different writing styles. Yeah.
yeah, and he's like, "I think this is AI. I think they've gone through AI to do this. I think AI can be really good for like an essay structure, but not write it for you because it is so obvious."
Yeah, no, 100%. I love it for a structure because I think I'm a bit like you. I'll have all of the ideas in my head, but putting them into a concise order doesn't always make sense. But if you just say to AI, this is what I want, what's the most logical framework? And then you pull that out and then you just build on it with your own knowledge and your own research.
Yeah, and I think that you have to do it like that, or give me ideas on people to read about this topic.
Yes, I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah, articles to read. That's a really good one.
I did look up, I guess, what some of the limitations to AI would be in teaching. And the big things that were coming up were like the emotional and social intelligence for people, which is huge and obviously can't be taught by a computer.
Yeah, and especially as someone who works in SEN, I was only talking to James about this the other day. That human side is the most important thing. I said to him, I said, once you're in a school, like long term, and you get to know the kids, it's the most important thing. Most students that I work with and have worked with over the last like 5 years, they've had really poor school experiences, and a lot of that comes with the struggle from going from primary to secondary. Because obviously in primary you have one teacher, you know them very well, they know you very well, tends to be more nurturing, and then go to
Mm.
secondary, you have 10 different teachers in a week. It's really hard to as a teacher to get to know all those kids, and it's really hard as a kid to get to know all those teachers as well. Like, we're humans, we respond on social and relational connection.
Yeah, and I think it's an important thing for, I guess, the kids to learn to interact with all these different people. And I
Hmm.
remember in COVID, this was like a huge gap that emerged where people weren't able to build like their social development or emotional development in the same ways. And I've heard things from different people that kids are still feeling the effects of that now. Like they're playing catch up with all of that social growth. And some kids developmentally have really, like, really hit a wall with COVID.
Quite a few kids, they're catching up now, but socially, I'd say they're a couple of years behind. In the last few years, like some of the social issues you had, say with year eight, are more like what I'd had previously with year six.
Yeah.
With year 11, and particularly around attitudes to learning, attitudes towards moving on to next steps, which is really scary. And we tend to get a year 11 slump. They get worried basically and they get scared about the next steps. So then they go into I call it can't be bothered mode. But really, they can't. It's not that they can't be bothered; they're just panicking. But this is
Yeah.
more than that. They're really struggling to feel equipped to go on to post 16 because socially and emotionally, some of them are still at like a year 9 stage. They need some more of that. And it's not that they're immature; they've missed out on 2 years of normal social interaction. I mean, especially for the kids that I work with, even after COVID, a lot of them didn't go back to school. So then they had to find other school placements, which takes time.
Yeah, no, it's really hard. I feel so bad for kids that have had to go to school through this whole period because you can't go back and catch up. It's not like you can just, oh well, I'll just go repeat those 2 years. Like, I mean, you could, but schools wouldn't be able to accommodate everyone doing that. And
No, and I think like it's ironic that we talk about AI because I think a lot of young people then spent a lot of time online when they were off
mm,
school. Parents have struggled to moderate that because a lot of them are working themselves. This isn't parent blaming at all. I don't know how I would have done it if I had a kid then. I don't know how I would have monitored their online, made sure they were going to online school, and worked myself.
I could not imagine it, honestly. Like when I work from home, like I could not imagine there being a kid there that yeah, it's too much to juggle.
With working from home, it's that people have like I know that I don't know whether your company does this, and I work in a school, so it's different. But people have got in big trouble for like having their kids at home while they're
Yeah,
working
no,
from
it's
home.
not allowed now. I
No.
assume it was allowed during COVID. Wouldn't
Mm.
know because don't have kids. But I assume during COVID they kind of had to let you get away with it. But now it's a big no no.
Yeah, it's like a misconduct thing now, isn't it, in a lot of places?
Yeah, because you can't give your kid the attention it needs and also give your job the attention that it needs.
Mm.
One or the other is gonna slip, and it shouldn't be either. Like,
No, it shouldn't be. I don't have. I mean, I still don't have a baby yet, but I've been with like the niece and nephew, and you can't do it. I had one day, and it was before we went to a funeral actually. So I did a bit of work from the in-laws' house in the morning, and I was able to hold my niece while I was doing that, but she was really little at the time, so it was just lucky that she was asleep. Like if she'd woken up and needed something, I couldn't have done my job at the same time.
no, and I think it's also so different if it's a one-off, like, if it was a regular thing, like,
Yeah.
you can get away with some distractions for one day, but as a regular thing like, for example, Grant's been off this week because he's between finishing one job and starting his next one, and I worked from home on Wednesday, and he was here. He cleared off at around lunchtime, but if he was here every day that I worked from home, it would be a problem, but it being just
Mhm.
one day, we were able to just make it work, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's different if it's not a long-term arrangement, I think.
yeah. I don't like working from home, I get really distracted. I think I can like, I get a surprising amount of work done if I get in the zone, but
Mm.
although I'm not massively social, I do like the atmosphere of being in school. I think because I can change tasks quite quickly. So if I'm doing admin work, if I'm getting really fed up with it, I can go down and spend some time with the kids, go and see if any of the staff need any help, things like that. And that gives my brain a bit of a break, a bit of different kind of brain stimulation as well.
I have found I'm generally happier on office days. Like I've done
Mm.
one of those apps where you like track your mood each day. And there was like a noticeable difference between the days I'm at home and the days I'm in office. I was happier on office
Mm.
days. I think it's because you get that balance. But equally, my commute is like an hour and a half. So if I did have to do that every day, it would probably be a problem. I do like claiming back that time a couple of times a week and being able
Yeah,
to
my
do
commute's
life.
long.
Yeah.
Not as long as yours, but it is long.
Well, sometimes mine's an hour, sometimes I mean, it's been 3 hours when the trains break, but,
Yeah.
um, classic Brisbane.
Mine's just been a few of like a couple of hours when there's been an accident on the motorway.
Yeah.
But you can't do anything about that. Like I've got a very different attitude towards things like traffic jams and stuff now. I now just think that like I'm in the traffic jam, but at least I'm not in the accident.
Yeah, yeah, someone else is having potentially one of the worst days of their life,
Yeah.
so I think it's a very emotionally mature thing to be able to sit in a traffic jam and be thinking about the people who are worse off.
Mm. Well, there's no point getting frustrated about it. Like, even if I get stuck, my work are really good. Even if I get stuck in a traffic jam on my way to work, they know that I commute the furthest out of all the team, really, apart from one person. So they're just like, get here safely.
Yeah, that's really good. I think having a good employer can make all the difference, honestly.
Yeah, it does. It does. Having that understanding.
And again, that human connection, like we were talking about, like if your head teacher was replaced with an AI robot, then they would be like, no, designated time is this time, does not compute.
The trouble is, even with the like small systems that are used in work, the computer systems, they can go wrong so easily. Like we have a
Mm.
clocking in and out system, and the amount of times it hasn't, I've clicked clock in or clock out, and it's not done it.
Yeah, no, technology is so prone to fail, and AI is no exception from that. But yeah, I guess coming back to teaching and I think there's definitely things in the pro column, but in the sense of like teachers working together with AI, not AI becoming the teacher. So,
Yes.
like things to make your guys' lives easier and free up more of your time so you can spend more time with the kids rather than AI becoming you. I think
Yeah.
especially, like, if you've got, like, complexities within the classroom, like, you might have, kids with different diagnoses, different stages of learning. I think particularly in younger years when you have kids who are, like some of them are born at the start of the school year, some are born at the end, it can make a huge difference, and AI isn't gonna be able to capture all of that.
No, they can't. They don't know the kid. I mean, I'm looking at teaching really small classes, but what we learnt in COVID is even with their teacher on the screen, most kids, not all, some kids really like online learning. Most kids hate it.
Oh, like, they admit I thought that they would pretend they love it so then they can stay home and play video
No,
games.
no, actually, now we're like 5 years past the start of COVID. They admit to not doing anything during COVID because to a lot of them, which in line with their diagnosis, school is school, home is home. I'm not doing schoolwork at home. That's why we don't set homework.
And I do think that that's fair. I think that you do need designated spaces for work and for play. And
Yes.
I'm saying this whilst being a very bad doer of this, but I think it is important because I do struggle to switch off from work on my work from home days because I'm at home.
See, I never online taught because I worked in a social emotional mental health school. We were open to like the most vulnerable students, so like
Oh, I
children
do
who are in
remember, yeah.
care. We what the government said was be open to all kids with the EHCP, Education Health Care Plan, and I can't remember whether we offered it for all of them. I don't think we did at first. Then we opened it up to more children who had a social worker, children who were pupil premium, they could come into school. So I never online taught. At the time I was Senko. Yeah, I was Senko then. I wasn't a class teacher. We did do online teaching at the school, but like I said, the kids hated it. So
Yeah. I think potentially if kids were like really keen on online learning, and clearly it doesn't work for the majority of them, but that could be a space where AI could take a bigger role. Like
mm,
there could be some lessons that are AI led and then others that are teacher led to give that social learning and I guess that connection still.
yeah,
It would
and
be
it's
very isolating, but
I think some kids, like children who are on a education other than at school package or home ed, which are very like, they're not the same thing, but in terms of for teaching and learning, if they have lessons, it can be quite similar. A lot of those students have very severe anxiety about attending a school setting,
yeah.
school-based trauma, school-based anxiety, or general anxiety about leaving the house or leaving their safe space. And a lot of those students will have online tutoring, but actually, quite a few of them that I know will have face to face tutoring in the home. You've still got the human there with online tutoring. That's the thing. And there
Yeah.
are very successful online schools, which are very heavily used in like the home ed community. Parents who take their children traveling around the world and then they can log into an online lesson and do maths or English or things like that. I'm sure it's much more organized than I'm giving it credit for. As a teacher, I don't disagree with it because I think there is a platform for all kinds of learning, but at the core of it, there's still a human.
Yes. Yeah, I think
There's
there
still
needs
a
to be because
person.
otherwise, like if the person teaching the kids were AI, then how are those kids ever going to learn to have those unique ideas that AI can't teach? So, like we've
Mhm.
already said that, like AI can't innovate, it can't do creativity. So, how's a kid going to learn to do that if it never learned from another person?
Yeah, I think that as an adult, like I say, I think that the tools are better for us as an adult, as adults.
Yes, because hopefully we
There's
can understand where they're useful and where they're not.
Yeah, there's some amazing AI engines that are being created by teachers and teacher developers. I'll shout it out with maybe they'll listen to this and give me a free a free membership. So Teach AI is developed by Mr. PICT, who is a podcaster. and ed developer and lots of other stuff. And that is amazing because it's developed by teachers. That is very good. And there's things like concept explainer. So I made it explain an anaerobic respiration for a year two student.
Cool.
That was my test for it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and you can put in, like, the age and stuff like that. So things like that are really good, and especially for new teachers, it could really help. But even like me, I only teach a day and a half a week, but my main part of my job isn't teaching as such now. So it really helps me because I'm not in the classroom all the time, and
Yeah.
I don't want it to become secondary. Like, teaching those kids is just as important as the other side of my job, but the other side of my job takes up more time. So if I can use AI to help with either side of that, and mean that I'm more present for the kids and I'm able to be there more because I'm called out of the office a bit for like pastoral support and mental health support and things like that, as opposed to
Yeah.
being sat in
It'd be
front of a
so
computer
special.
writing a lesson plan. It's much more beneficial for those kids.
Definitely. And I think as well, something that came up when I was researching all of this is that because not everyone has the same access to, the internet, computers, technology, and all of the rest of it, if there became an over reliance on AI, it could lead to a big socioeconomic divide.
Hmm.
And I mean, not necessarily related to AI, but I remember that when we were in school, like we didn't have internet at home. And I do remember there came a point around about year 10 and 11 where it did create a bit of a divide where teachers would ask things assuming that that was something that everyone had access to, and it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And so it did create this imbalance where, everyone was told, can you research this thing? And for everyone else, it was just a quick Google search and done. For me, it would have been buy 5 magazines, cut different things out of the magazines, and copy them into a thing.
Or walk a half a mile to the library.
Exactly. Yeah. And then pay to use the internet back then. I don't know if
Yes.
they still do that, but
No,
I
they
assume they
don't.
don't. Yeah, it's free Wi-Fi. Yeah, no, I don't know what I'm saying. I've been in the library. I know what a book is.
I've been in a library.
I've heard of books. But yeah, I remember that imbalance, and it wasn't a huge thing, had 0 impact on my actual schooling because I actually ended up just not doing the homework and telling the teacher I thought that it was unfair. They disagreed, but they also didn't give me detention, so it was fine. But I could see that being a big thing with AI. If people were to say, let's say 50% of lessons are now AI led and 50% are teacher led, anyone who can't access those tools is suddenly at a disadvantage. Or even like in Australia, internet is sometimes terrible, but in
Mhm.
rural communities, it's extra terrible. So even these things like the AI therapy that they're looking at doing, it's a great way to give people access to extra resources, but also they've then got to have access to the internet and the AI tools. It's not
Yeah.
always going to be possible.
No, it's not. And this like technological divide, like, you would assume that because all kids have phones, that they all would have access to online learning, for example. And I'm thinking during COVID. No, the amount of laptops and things that we basically had to give the kids because most of them we didn't get back. And the local authority provided some, especially for children who receive pupil premium. So well, it's still free school meals, but there's other criteria for it as well. Children who are looked after by local authority, we got some like funding for laptops for them, or we got sent laptops from them, like from the virtual schools and stuff, which was lovely.
That's so cool.
But that just highlighted and then there's the whole issue as well that not so much where I am now, but previous settings that I've taught in, some of the kids are really vulnerable online, or they might have very limited access to online. They might not have a phone because they're looked after, so they haven't got permission to have a phone at that point in time. So then, how do you police them so much on the internet? Because kids will find a way to get on what they're not supposed to be on as well.
No, exactly. So if you
We
say
did
everyone's
when we
got
were
to
at
be on the
school.
internet. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't remember doing it that much, but again, that might have just been lack of access to the internet crossed with me being a goody goody rule follower. But
I can remember everyone like swapping proxies and things to get on, try and get on MySpace in sixth
okay, I
form.
do, I do remember doing that for like those crappy like games, like those crappy online games. So yes, I get I was a rule breaker.
Did you know kids still play cool maths games?
What? Oh my god. Do they still play the helicopter game where you have to click?
No, they don't. I
Damn.
don't think anyway.
I would have felt really young if you said yes.
They, I might introduce them. No, I won't introduce them to it.
No, it'll become a new hyperfixation, I'm sure.
Yep,
It's very addictive. It's like
yep.
Flappy Bird. Didn't the Flappy Bird guy take it offline? Like he took it down because he thought people were getting too addicted?
Oh my god.
Yeah. I might have made that up. That could be completely wrong. I'll put a pop-up in the video of if that's actually true or if I've just
What, like,
made that up. But
wrong?
yeah, Sam is lying. But I think I remember that happening, that he took it down because people were getting too addicted.
Economies were crumbling.
Yeah, the world fell apart because of Flappy Bird.
The things definitely they go through trends, don't they?
They
Um,
do. I'm kind of loving that some of the trends, like, going back to things that were trendy when we were young as well, like, particularly, like, fashion trends.
oh yeah, the early like the amount of times I'll just wear clothes that are just like normal for me, and the kids like, "Oh, slay!" I'm like, "Slay."
Aw, that's so lovely.
They don't tell me I slay very often, but it has happened.
I have slayed once or
I
twice.
have slayed once in my life, but yeah, they're funny. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like you said, AI won't replace that human connection. So I think
No.
my job's pretty safe.
Honestly, your job, after talking it all through, I'm like, your job is more safe than my job. So maybe I need to go and get my teacher training.
Just talk to James about that.
Yeah.
Loves it.
Next episode, can AI replace marketing? And the answer is categorically yes.
Dorothy is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm not really here. I'm just an AI generation of myself.
Don't, because I read a book and the whole society was built on AI in the end. Like there was no one
No.
leading the society. The prime minister was AI. All his
Oh,
advisors were AI.
I think I heard about this.
It
I
originally
have.
started off as like a population control book.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard about this book. I do want to read it.
But it was good, but yeah, literally the whole society was built on AI. There was nobody leading it. There was a computer. It was really
Yeah, it's really scary as well, like how close we kind of are to that point because like deep fakes are such a big thing.
Mhm.
And I remember there was a huge thing a while ago where loads of different celebrities were like being seen endorsing things, but it wasn't actually them, it was a deep fake.
Yeah.
Worrying.
Do you watch Black Mirror?
It's worryingly just becoming a documentary of life, but
Have you watched the new series?
not the new series yet, no. Have you watched, I don't know if it's the latest series anymore because Australia tends to get them late, but one of the latest series is of Doctor Who, and there was an episode where basically everyone is lost in like a social media bubble, and so they literally have like a digital bubble around them, and they don't actually see the
No.
world around them. It's quite
Some of my
cool.
students love Doctor Who. That might be one to show them.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think it's too
Yeah,
grim.
there's a lot on Black Mirror about AI, and they tend to take it to the furthest point, don't they? But I think that's the idea of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the latest series is more like Black Mirror-esque than it has been for ages.
Oh, that's good. I
Yeah.
heard some dodgy things about, it was either the first or second episode. Everyone's like, "I'm really surprised this episode was allowed to air."
The first one.
I love that you just know straight away. But I remember that being the case with the very first ever
It's
episode of
not
Black
like
Mirror.
that. No, it's not like
Okay.
that. No, that's not why.
Okay.
It just the first one, I think it hits a little too close to home for Netflix. Like, it's but they've poked fun at streaming and things like that before. If you look at Jodie's awful.
Yeah, I think there's some entertaining, like, meta commentary on like, I mean, like, me insulting podcasts earlier. It's fine.
I think it's fine to lean into the meta. I think that Black Mirror does that quite well as well.
Black Mirror does it so well. No, I do wanna watch those episodes. I do
Yeah.
find it to be a bit of a hit and miss series, like, some episodes I love, others I'm just like, "Oh, kinda bored."
I think though even the bad episodes are pretty good.
Even the bad episodes are better than most other series, yeah. It's just it
You
got put on such a pedestal for a while that as soon as
mm,
they had a slightly less good episode.
I think series 1 to 3 were like peak, and then it went down, but series 7 is really good.
Wow, I can't believe they're on 7 series.
I think it's 7 anyway, the latest one. I cried, but that's not new. I I cried at bloody hospital bags yesterday, so I'm not saying you'll cry at Black Mirror.
Oh, no, I almost definitely will. I mean, to be honest, I think we've covered most of our AI chat.
Mhm.
I think the general conclusion is that actually teaching might end up more human centered, and AI can maybe just be a support for things like marking and the admin and to give you guys more time to be the teachers.
It's good for policy.
Yes.
It is good
Yeah.
for policy and procedure because there's
Yeah.
only a few ways you can write a evacuation policy. Even things like the sick leave policy, like you put in your own stuff, obviously, but
But you don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. Yeah, we've just had to redo all of our privacy policies, and
mhm.
AI is now a big part of them. It
Oh,
wasn't
our
previously
data protection
mentioned.
and privacy to do with ICT is insane at the moment. I don't know if it's the same
It's
over there, I don't know if
awful.
the laws changed or something.
Something has changed,
Yeah.
but as well, I can't remember what they're called, but like the organization that kind of keeps track of that stuff basically just sent out a letter to a whole bunch of organizations saying, "Hey, we're gonna be like doing audits and stuff." So everyone went into a panic all at once. Like all of these organizations just suddenly had a panic and redid all their privacy policies.
I feel like there's something that's happened in the UK, like not huge, but
Mm.
there's definitely been an email that I've seen around like internet safety computers that we need to action on Monday. It's not like a huge thing or anything like that, but it's a Monday thing.
Hopefully you guys can use AI to cut back on time spent with, I guess, the stuff that isn't focused on the kids, and then everything can become more about the kids and more about that human contact. And yeah, all of your colleagues aren't going to end up robots like Edie.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That's Mass Effect for anyone
Yeah.
who doesn't know.
Anyone unaware?
Yeah, because that's what I keep picturing when I picture AI taking over the world. I picture Edie.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, "Oh, maybe it's not that bad." And then I remember the end of
Mm,
Mass Effect, I'm like, "No, okay, it's not
it's
good."
bad. It's bad.
Yeah, I don't know which ending you picked, but, Edie didn't survive my ending.
No, no, that's the same one as me.
Yep.
Yeah, sad.
And, I mean, we can't rely on there being a big semi-sentient being to take care of it all for us when it all gets too far, so
No, I mean, maybe we could.
maybe AI can create something that can destroy AI.
I need AI to clean my house. That's what I need.
Yes. This is the thing that's so frustrating. Like, why is AI doing things like regenerating photos, doing these deep fakes and all of this stuff? And like it's not doing the things that we actually want it to do. Someone made a really good point the other day of like, why is AI not being trained to like read scans and stuff like hospital scans? I'm sure
Yeah,
that it is, but surely that's a much better use for its time than recreating some deviant art.
that would be my brother-in-law out of a job.
I mean, it would. It would. But do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many better uses for it.
Yeah,
And again, I still think that it would be one of those things where it would be there's no nuance with AI. So I think actually your brother-in-law would still have a job because the AI would flag things and then you need an actual human to go,
to
actually
check
that's
it,
nothing.
yeah, and
Yeah.
what treatment's needed and
Yeah, but it might just help him to get through those things quicker
mm,
because it's flagged the main potential
I'll have a chat to him
things.
about it because 'cause I'll be like they have some stuff in I think they have some stuff in the NHS, like, with a lot of things like blood test results, there's obviously people check them and things like that, but they have reference ranges and you
Yeah,
get digital results through.
yeah, it's interesting. I think that I could see it growing in that space, but I think you still always need a human to check it because otherwise I think there's going to
Mm,
be some wild diagnoses coming in. It's like when you Google your symptoms and it always says that it's always cancer, always. Like, oh, I've got
yeah,
a headache. That sounds like a really nice brain tumor you've got there.
yeah. I've got a stomachache, yeah, that's a stomach tumor.
Yep, yep, always.
Or twisted bowel or something else horrific.
Yeah, it's always something really, really random.
Or, "Oh, you got testicular torsion." "Do I? Do I now?"
Yeah. Yeah, no, so I think if AI was in charge of like the doctory stuff, that's what would happen. Everyone would suddenly have these wild diagnoses. God, especially if you could input your own symptoms. Like, oh.
Oh god. See, I have a little bit of health anxiety, so I don't think that would help.
No, no, I do tend to Google things before I go see a doctor,
Yeah.
but I also just try not to put too much stock in it. I put more stock in it for things where I don't plan on getting it checked out. Like, for example, I've been running too much, so I've hurt my leg, and so I was just Googling, "What does this mean?" And I've come to the what I think is a reasonable conclusion that I think I've got Achilles tendonitis that is led to shin splints.
Oh, shin splints hurt.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Yeah, they really hurt.
Yeah, and I feel quite confident in the Google of that because if it said, "Oh, your bone is falling out," I would go to a doctor to get a second opinion, but instead it's things I can treat with rest and ice, so I'm like, "Okay, that's great."
Well, that's it, and then if it doesn't get better, you go to a doctor and you say, "I thought it was this."
Exactly.
It's like that weird ankle thing. If I put that into Google, they would have said like, oh, they would have said like a cyst or sprained ankle, which is what the
I
doctors
was
kept
gonna
saying
say,
as
yeah.
well. It wasn't. It was a rare tendon tumor, like not cancerous, thankfully. But that would have never come up on Google.
No,
It took
it
them
would have been
about
bottom
5
of the
years to come to
list.
that conclusion.
I can't believe that, after 5 years, like, yeah, your ankle's just still twisted, like,
Yeah, but I
yeah,
had the
still a
condition for
thing.
ages, didn't I? I had the
You
condition for
did,
when I was like a
yeah.
teenager.
Yeah.
But they just kept saying it's twist ankle. I was like, "I don't think it is."
Still? It hasn't untwisted itself? Oh, I don't wanna say too much because doctors do an amazing job,
Oh, yeah.
but but also it's kinda like, okay, they're kind of talking like AI there. They're not
I
recognizing that maybe after 5 years it's something else. They're
I
just
think because it was different doctors and
yeah,
they're trained to, like, if you hear hooves up for horses, not zebras.
yeah,
And
and you with the zebra.
it's a zebra condition. It's really rare. It's on, like, that's the thing. It's a zebra condition.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess you're not out of a job, which is good. Could you imagine if we concluded this and it was like, "Oh, actually, Mel's job specifically, don't need that one."
No one needs saying clothes.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time. I think there's a lot of opportunities and potential. Yeah, I thank you so much to anyone who has listened to this. Please share your opinions on where you think AI could go and whether you think AI will steal your job next. Because we've concluded it's probably going to take mine. But
Oh.
I don't actually think it will. Like, I am saying that fully jokingly. Otherwise, I would be very hiding it from the internet. But no, I think there's too much understanding of creativity and human behavior in my job for it to actually steal it as
Mm.
well. But yeah, no, I'd be really interested to hear what other people think on that because it is such a rapidly evolving space, and it did just suddenly kind of take over. And yeah, I think we can use it for good. It doesn't have to end like Mass Effect or Terminator or
The books that I read.
any of the books that Mel's reading. Yeah. I'm sure that none of that will be foreshadowing.
No, I'm taking a bit of a break from, dystopian sci-fi at the moment, and I'm reading, murder mystery. Not murder mystery like Agatha
Ooh.
Christie, like thriller murder mystery. That's it.
Ooh, I love those.
Yeah.
Do you have any good recommendations?
So the one I'm reading at the moment, let me just check, which is pretty good so far. I'm about 20% of the way through. So I'm reading Under Her Care, which is the Lucinda Berry one.
Mhm.
I read I Who Have Never Known Men. That's an old book. That's like 1995. It's translated from French. That's good. It's not computer dystopia. It is definitely dystopia, though. It's about women and sisterhood and all that stuff, though. It's really moving.
Oh, that's cool. I've been doing murder mystery as well, but kind of, I guess, softer. What's interesting is every time that I pick up one of these kind of books, I then find out that they're making a TV series out of it. So, or a
Are you
movie.
reading
So
a lot of Harlan Coben? Because they're making loads out of his books.
I was reading Thursday Murder Club, and then the next thing I
Oh.
see, David Tennant's been hired to be one of the people in Thursday Murder Club, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, is someone watching what I'm reading? Because like the same thing happened when I was reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Next thing I know, there's a TV
Oh, that's on my
series.
to read list, actually. I've had that for ages, but
I like the book so much more than the series. I did like the
mm,
series, but I like the book more.
I liked Thursday Murder Club, but I think I prefer a more gritty
It's a
book at
little
times.
I completely understand what they're trying to do with it, and I am
Yeah,
enjoying it, but also it's a little bit slow at times.
yeah.
And
The next two are apparently better in that sense.
Okay.
Like, the
Yeah,
next
'cause
two
I
are
really like the concept. Like, I think it's a really different way to take it, and I like the creativity with having this, like, group of retired older people, like, doing it rather than it being, like, a teenager or a young
mhm.
adult like it normally is. I think that's really, really cool. But, yeah, there are moments where it's a bit slower and I'm like, "Oh, can I just skip to, like, the good bit?"
Have you read Sunrise on the Reaping?
No, I saw it today and nearly
Read
bought it,
it,
but yeah.
and then we can talk about it.
Yes.
Haymitch is my king.
Hamish has always been
It made me
Hamish has
cry.
always been king.
Although not shocking again, but made me cry.
You need to read some happy books.
I don't read happy books. I actually don't. I'm just looking at the books that I've read more. I don't read. I read The Immortalist. That's a very different book. That's about a set of siblings in the 60s who receive like the day of their death from a fortune teller type woman, and it follows all their lives like from that point. That's sad, but like not in a way that loads of people are getting murdered or anything like that. It's very human. That's a good book. Made me cry.
I'm trying to think of any happy books that I know, but I mean, to be fair, most books, even the happy ones, like it's happiness built from sadness, because otherwise you're not overcoming anything, and it's a very base story then.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, I saw one of my friends yesterday and she said, "Get a grip." And I said I cried at baby bags, but can't help it.
It's okay if you start crying at one of James's Yu-Gi-Oh competitions or Oblivion, then that's when you've got a problem. Up until then, you're fine.
Have you got Oblivion now?
I do. I haven't played it yet though. It's my reward for finishing all my podcast stuff. I should
Oblivion.
probably let you go. I just noticed, like, because I've had you on like half screen, I haven't been able to see the time. We've been going for an hour and 45.
Oh, we always
I know we're
do.
good.
We do, yeah.
Yeah. But we yapped yesterday.
I know.
So probably some of the yap. I like to keep some in, but an hour and 45 might be overkill. But thank you so much for yeah, agreeing
No
to come on
problem.
again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed.
Oh, good night. Sleep
Cool. Well,
well.
thank you, and I will see you soon. I'm sure we'll catch up again.
Yes,
I'll give you a
definitely.
call.
Bye.